This is the final section of Beowulf. It starts on page 56. After being honored by Hrothgar, Beowulf and his fellow Geats return home, where he eventually becomes king. Beowulf rules Geatland for 50 years. When a dragon menaces his kingdom, Beowulf, now an old man, determines to slay the beast. Before going into battle, he tells his men about the royal house and his exploits in its service. The last battle. And Beowulf uttered his final boast. I've never known fear. As a youth, I fought in endless battles. I am old now, but I will fight again. Seek fame still. If the dragon hiding me in his tower dares to face me. Then he said farewell to his followers, each in his turn, for the last time. I'd use no sword, no weapon, if this beast could be killed without it, crushed to death like Grendel, gripped in my hands and torn limb from limb. But his breath will be burning hot. Poison will pour from his tongue. I feel no shame with shield and sword and armor against this monster. When he comes to me, I mean to stand, not run from his shooting flames. Stand till fate decides which of us wins. My heart is firm, my hands calm. I need no hot words. Wait for me close by, my friends. We shall see, soon, who will survive this bloody battle. Stand when the fighting is done. No one else could do what I mean to. Here, no man but me could hope to defeat this monster. No one could try. And this dragon's treasure, his gold, and everything hidden in that tower will be mine, or war will sweep me to a bitter death. Then Beowulf rose, still brave, still strong, and with his shield at his side and a mail shirt on his breast, strode calmly, confidently toward the tower. Under the rocky cliffs, no coward could have walked there. And then he who'd endured dozens of desperate battles, who'd stand boldly while swords and shields clashed, the best of kings, saw huge stone arches and felt the heat of the dragon's breath flooding down through the hidden entrance, too hot for anyone to stand. A streaming current of fire and smoke that blocked all passage, and the Geats' lord and leader, angry, lowered his sword and roared out a battle cry, a call so loud and clear that it reached through the hoary rock, hung in the dragon's ear. The beast rose, angry, knowing a man had come, and then nothing but war could have followed. Its breath came first, a steaming cloud pouring from the stone. Then the earth itself shook. Beowulf swung his shield into place, held it in front of him, facing the entrance. The dragon coiled and uncoiled its heart, urging it into battle. Beowulf's ancient sword was waiting, unsheathed, his sharp and gleaming blade. The beast came closer. Both of them were ready, each set on slaughter. The Geats' great prince stood firm, unmoving, prepared behind his high shield, waiting in his shining armor. The monster came quickly toward him, pouring out fire and smoke, hurrying to its fate. Flames beat at the iron shield, and for a time it held, protected Beowulf as he'd planned. Then it began to melt. And for the first time in his life, that famous prince fought with fate against him, with glory denied him. He knew it, but he raised his sword and struck at the dragon's scaly hide. The ancient blade broke, bit into the monster's skin, drew blood, but cracked and failed him before it went deep enough, helped him less than he needed. The dragon leaped with pain, thrashed and beat at him, spouting murderous flames, spreading them everywhere. And the Geats' ring-giver did not boast of glorious victories in other wars. His weapon had failed him, deserted him. Now when he needed it most, that excellent sword, Ecgtheow's famous son, stared at death, unwilling to leave this world, to exchange it for a dwelling in some distant place, a journey into darkness that all men must make, as death ends their few brief hours on earth. Quickly, the dragon came at him, encouraged as Beowulf fell back. Its breath flared, and he suffered, wrapped around in swirling flames, a king before, but now a beaten warrior. None of his comrades came to him, helped him. His brave and noble followers, they ran for their lives, fled deep in a wood, and only one of them remained, stood there, miserable, remembering, as a good man must, what kinship should mean. His name was Wiglaf. He was Wexton's son and a good soldier. His family had been Swedish once. Watching Beowulf, he could see how his king was suffering, burning, remembering everything his lord and cousin had given him, armor and gold and the great estates Wexton's family enjoyed. Wiglaf's mind was made up. He raised his yellow shield and drew his sword, an ancient weapon that had once belonged to Onella's nephew and that Wexton had won, killing that prince when he fled from Sweden, sought safety with Herdred and found death. And Wiglaf's father had carried the dead man's armor and his sword to Onella, and the king had said nothing, only given him armor and sword and all, everything his rebel nephew had owned and lost when he left his life. And Wexton had kept those shining gifts, held them for years, waiting for his son to use them, wear them as honorably and well as once his father had done. Then Wexton died, and Wiglaf was his heir, inherited treasures and weapons and land. He'd never worn that armor, fought with that sword, until Beowulf called him to his side, led him into war. But his soul did not melt. His sword was strong. The dragon discovered his courage and his weapon when the rush of battle brought them together. And Wiglaf, his heart heavy, uttered the kind of words his comrades deserved. I remember how we sat in the mead hall, drinking and boasting of how brave we'd be when Beowulf needed us. He who gave us these swords and armor, all of us swore to repay him when the time came, kindness for kindness, with our lives if he needed them. He allowed us to join him, chose us from all his great army, thinking our boasting words had some weight, believing our promises, trusting our swords. He took us for soldiers, for men. He meant to kill this monster himself, our mighty king, fight this battle alone and unaided, as in the days when his strength and daring dazzled men's eyes. Those days are over and gone, and now our Lord must lean on younger arms, and we must go to him. While angry flames burn at his flesh, help our glorious king. By Almighty God, I'd rather burn myself than see flames swirling around my Lord. And who are we to carry home our shields before we've slain his enemy and ours? To run back to our homes with Beowulf so hard-pressed here? I swear that nothing he ever did deserved an end like this, dying miserably and alone, butchered by this savage beast. We swore that these swords and armor were each for us all. Then he ran to his king, crying encouragement as he dove through the dragon's deadly fumes. We're now on the top of page 60. Wiglaf and Beowulf killed the dragon, but the old king is mortally wounded. As he dies, Beowulf asks Wiglaf to bring him the treasure that the dragon was guarding. Then Wexton's son went in, as quickly as he could, did as the dying Beowulf asked, entered the inner darkness of the tower, went with his mail shirt and his sword. Flushed with victory, he groped his way, a brave young warrior, and suddenly saw piles of gleaming gold, precious gems scattered on the floor, cups and bracelets, rusty old helmets, beautifully made but rotting with no hands to rub and polish them. They lay where the dragon left them. It had flown in the darkness once before fighting its final battle. So gold can easily triumph, defeat the strongest of men, no matter how deep it is hidden. And he saw hanging high above a golden banner woven by the best of weavers and beautiful. And over everything he saw a strange light shining everywhere on walls and floor and treasure. Nothing moved, nor other monsters appeared. He took what he wanted, all the treasures that pleased his eye, heavy plates and golden cups, and the glorious banner loaded his arms with all they could hold. Beowulf's dagger, his iron blade, had finished the fire-spitting terror that once protected tower and treasures alike. The gray-bearded Lord of the Geats had ended those flying, burning raids forever. Then Wiglaf went back, anxious to return while Beowulf was alive, to bring him treasure they'd won together. He ran, hoping his wounded king, weak and dying, had not left the world too soon. Then he brought their treasure to Beowulf and found his famous king bloody, gasping for breath. But Wiglaf sprinkled water over his lord until the words deep in his breast broke through and were heard. Beholding the treasure, he spoke haltingly, "For this gold, these jewels, I thank our Father in heaven, ruler of the earth, for all of this. that his grace has given me, allowed me to bring to my people while breath still came to my lips. I sold my life for this treasure, and I sold it well. Take what I leave, Wiglaf. Lead my people. Help them. My time is gone. Have the brave Geats build me a tomb when the funeral flames have burned me, and build it here at the water's edge, high on this spit of land, so sailors can see this tower and remember my name, and call it Beowulf's Tower, and boats in the darkness and mist crossing the sea will know it. Then that brave king gave the golden necklace from around his throat to Wiglaf, gave him gold-covered helmet and his rings and his mail shirt, and ordered him to use them well. You're the last of our far-flung family. Fate has swept our race away, taken warriors in their strength and led them to the death that was waiting, and now I follow them. The old man's mouth was silent, spoke no more, had said as much as it could. He would sleep in the fire soon. His soul left his flesh, flew to glory. Wiglaf denounces the warriors who deserted Beowulf. The Geats burn their king's body on a funeral pyre and bitterly lament his death. Then the Geats built the tower as Beowulf had asked, strong and tall so sailors could find it from far and wide. Working for 10 long days, they made his monument, sealed his ashes in walls as straight and high as wise and willing hands could raise them. And the riches he and Wiglaf had won from the dragon, rings, necklaces, ancient, hammered armor, all the treasures they'd taken were left there too. Silver and jewels buried in the sandy ground, back in the earth, again, and forever hidden and useless to men. And then 12 of the bravest Geats rode their horses around the tower, telling their sorrow, telling stories of their dead king and his greatness, his glory, praising him for heroic deeds, for a life as noble as his name. So should all men raise up words for their lords, warm with love, when their shield and protector leaves his body behind, sends his soul on high. And so Beowulf's followers rode, mourning their beloved leader, crying that no better king had ever lived, no prince so mild, no man so open to his people.